Welcome to my Filemaker tutorial. I'm Tim Haid, your host, and we'll get started here. This is the first in a series, and there's probably going to be quite a few of them, is that we're going to be building a POS system, or a cash register accounting database system. Something that you can use in your retail store. As you can see, there's plenty of them here on this. I have Filemaker 14 Pro Advanced, as you can see here. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go ahead and start a brand spanking new solution, and we're going to name it Your Store. You can name it whatever you want to, but for the purposes of this, we're going to just go ahead and use Your Store. It will open a brand new file for you, and it will basically create a table, and that table, as you can see right here, that table is your store, so it creates a layout as well. And then it has this inspector and a field picker. Now the field picker is any fields that you want on your page. It would normally put them in, but as you can see, there are no available fields. We haven't gotten that far yet. And the inspector is basically designed for creating the layout and managing it, making it look, its appearance, its style, its position, all those neat things, and its usability, its functionality, are all based in this inspector. So we're really not going to go into that whatsoever. But what we need to do right off the bat is we need to go in and we need to manage our database. And let's see, oh, look, there it came up. So let's look at our tables first. So the very first thing that we want to do is we want to change this. We don't need a page that is called Your Store. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to make a page or a series of pages called Menu. Now, this works really well. If you haven't seen one of my earlier videos, then you should probably go back and look at them. But menu is basically, that's where that's your interface. That's where you're going to be working, and you're going to put all your products on your interface, on your menu, and then people are your cash registers or your cashiers will be able to utilize that information going forward. So that's one of the very first things we're going to need is a menu. Now, another thing that we're going to need right off the bat is we're going to need a register. You know what? Let's make it all look professional here. So register, enter will create it if you press the enter button. Then we're going to need an invoice and enter to create that one. Now, one thing that I want to make absolutely clear is a table. A table is either a single page or a unit of pages, depending on how you want to work your system. But for the most part, a table is basically a page that you want to have in your application or in your solution. So you want to make sure that you build pages for every single thing that you need. This is going to be a two-store unit, or we're going to have two registers. What we're going to do is we're going to create another register, but we're going to create this one as register 2 and create an invoice 2 and enter to create. We're going to need a simple inventory, enter to create. Now we're going to need several other windows, and we're just going to go ahead and start creating a bunch of those now on this first video, just kind of to give you a quick feel as to how this goes. So you're going to need a back office. And notice how I'm creating all of these pages in a single word, so they're not separated or different in any way, shape, or form. Enter to create the back office. Now we will have a what we're going to need to do at this point is we're going to have to set up a you need to be able to monitor what your stores are doing or what your registers are doing. So let's put in register 1 monitor and enter, and then we'll just do register 2 monitor, and what else will we need? We could pretty much do anything we want to. Register 1 monitor and register 2 monitor those are pages that we're going to use to basically put all of our sales on as they're created, so that we can monitor what's happening in the store, or we can monitor what's happening with that register at a glance, just as quickly as you possibly want to. As soon as someone makes a sale, it will pop up on that monitor for you. So we have those two. That's pretty good for record keeping, basically. Should you need anything else, we could do your inventory file is actually going to be a couple of different pages, both a list page and as soon as I think of it, it'll be 2 different layouts, but just one of them will be necessary. So for now, let's just go ahead and call that good for what we need, because you've got your back office, you've got your register, and obviously as we're building this, it will grow. We're going to make it much larger as we need that to happen. So let's go into, if we double click on menu, it will take us into this fields section. Now the fields is, what do you want to see on that page? What do you want to have on that page? Well, on every single page, no matter what you do, you're going to need an ID, and an ID is a number. So if you press Control N, it will automatically, this thing right here will go to number. You can also just select it with the drop-down menu, number. But as you can see, it tells you Control T is for text, Control I is for time, the summary field, calculation field. So you can create different types of fields for what you need, but this is basically going to be just a number field, and don't necessarily even need it to self-generate its own number. So we will call that an ID field, and it is a number. The next field that we're going to need is probably an identifier. And that is a text. So let's just go and create that as a text. And the identifier is you will use that particular window when you are writing text. So your identifier gives, so that when you press a button, a number will go. You'll use the identifier basically as a launch for a script. So we kind of need to have that. And text just means that we can add either letters or numbers to it. It's not specifically just a number deal. And then I would like to add a security box. And as you notice, they're all one word. Now, if I wanted to, I could put underscores in here, and that's fine. And you will actually see us putting underscores in the future as we go through. A security box would also be a text, and you will see why we need the security box. The security box is basically used so that if you are a manager or a store owner, you can get into the back office, and you can get into areas where a normal cashier wouldn't be able to get into. And let's see, let's do a quantity window. And what we're going to use a quantity window for is, I've discovered this in my own thing. This can be a text or a number, but let's just make it a number so it's very specific. And if we have like a drop down or we open a window, if someone were to touch it, we could just put a number in. That makes it so much easier in the future. So the cool thing about this is I've discovered I've had these issues where people will come in and they'll buy one of this and one of that, and that's pretty simple scripting. But what if they want 2 of it, and so you have to press the button twice? What if they want 10 of it and you have to press the button 10 times? And what if you have a lag or something in your system, like your server is 1,000 miles away and it takes a few seconds? Doing that could be quite difficult. So the quantity window gives you the ability to basically put in a number. You tap on it and you put a number in. You'll see how this works. And then your script will identify whatever number is in there, if there is a number in there, and then it will just automatically charge them for that amount. So if you buy 10 of them, you can do that. So we'll just go ahead and create the quantity window in our menu box, or in our menu, on our menu page. We don't need a date. Don't put a date on it, because our menu is a whole series of pages, and we don't want to actually create any files in this or on these pages. Files are permanent records that are stored away. So what we want to do with this particular page, or this table, is we want to generate information from it through scripts to our invoice. So let's keep it like that. The next thing, let's do the register really quick. So the register, you are going to need an ID, just like normal. You're always going to need an ID, and it's always going to be a number, and create that. Now the register and the invoice are married together, and we need to make absolutely positive that we understand that those are married together. You'll see like a button down here that says duplicate. If you use that, go ahead and break your finger because you were a stupid idiot and you decided to use that button for some reason. Try not to do so. So here in the register field, we added an ID number, and it's just simply a number. The next thing that we're going to need to add is an invoice IDFK. Now, what an invoice IDFK is it is this is how we're going to basically marry 2 pages or 2 tables together. So the invoice, the identification number, and then the foreign key. F key is a foreign key. And that's how we tie those things together. So this particular one obviously is a number. We're going to create it, but this one we're going to want it to generate a number, a serial number, all by itself. And that will tie them together. Now, when we are doing the ID number for the invoicing section, we don't want it to generate a number, because then you will generating duplicate numbers and you will confuse the system. So we're just going to go ahead and add the serial number starting with value 1 through the invoice IDFK. Other fields that we're going to create is the date, which is an automatic date. We'll create it, and we're going to want to go ahead and just have this date on creation. That way we can date all of our invoices and we know exactly when they were created. Some other things we're going to need is we're going to need an invoice number, and I like to just type that whole thing out. That way I know that it's not just an identification system. And it's going to be a number field. And we're going to create this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to generate automatic serial numbers. But we want to be able to know, we want to be able to say, okay, this is register 1, this is register 2, or, we want to be able to identify where it came from, where this number actually came from. So what we're going to do is we're going to just add 1 and then 0, and then let's add 6 zeros after that. So 10 million basically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the reason why we're doing this is because, and as soon as we get to the next one, you'll find out exactly why we're doing this. So register 1, register 2. Is the first one will be the location of the very first number will be the location of the where we're going to use this particular register. So we're just going to say, hey, this is store 1, and it's the first register, so it's because it's a 0. And the cool thing about having this many is you basically get 999,999 invoices before it changes these first two numbers. So that gives you a lot of invoices to deal with before you actually have to make any sort of a change. Many, many, many years. And by that time, you can actually just go back in and make whatever changes you want to it, or you will probably have upgraded your system and have to start all over again, or do something different. The cool thing is an upgrade's not going to mess with your inventory, so you'll be able to maintain that inventory pretty much forever and ever. Amen. Some of the other things that we're going to need is a security box, and that is going to be a text. So Control T takes it to text, and then we're going to need, besides the security box, what else would we possibly need? We need the invoice ID, the date, the invoice number, and a security box. I think that will probably be just fine for now. Let's just go ahead and live with that for now. And let's go to register 2, and that way we know what we're doing for register 2. So right off the bat, we're looking at the ID, and that's a number. Control N will give you the number, plus enter. We will need an invoice ID FK, and that is also a number, and we're just going to go ahead and double click on that. I like to keep all of my invoice ID FKs, my foreign keys. I like those to be the ones that generate the number instead of the ID. Therefore, I can control the ID. I can control these numbers when, where, and if I want to use them, versus the other way around where they're just automatically generated. And I like to keep my information close to my vest as possible. So now we're going to need an invoice number, the same as the other one. And notice, you can name them the same. It's not going to hurt anything. So we're just going to go ahead and create that one. And the invoice number, we're going to have it a serial number. And this time, we're going to do 1, 2, and then 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I know, just by looking at these invoice numbers, where they came from. Now, I could do, if I had a second location, I could be, which actually I do, but if I had a second location, I could mark those as 2, 1, and 2, 2. And we'll call that good. We will need a date, and that will be a date, and the date will be an automatic. It will be on creation. We're good to go. Now the invoices, notice we're kind of passing over the invoices. Don't worry too much about that right now, because the invoices are actually the math. They're all of the math, how everything works. It has everything to do with the accounting section of it. And the math actually will go inside of the register, and you'll see how we build that very soon. So the next thing we're going to do is let's go into the inventory. So in the inventory, we're going to need an ID, and we're going to create it. Now this is one of the very few exceptions. The ID, oh, look, I made it into a date by accident. No problem. Let's change it to a number and see how I'm going to go to change. I'm going to change it to a number. It's that simple. And the identification number is going to, you can either just select it as a regular ID number, but in all astuance, in all situations, this product or this ID is actually going to be a product identifier or product identification. But we're just going to leave that now like this, and we're going to create something called the product ID. And it is also a number, and we'll create it. And we are going to say serial number, and we're going to start it at 1,000. The reason why we're starting it as 1,000 is I have 900 and some products in my store. That would still give me a 4-digit number, and that's fine. It's just easier to control that number versus like product 1, product 2, product 3, product 4, or whatever the case might be. So the product ID will be a number that is generated specifically for that. Now we will put a product SKU, a product SKU, and that is a number as well. And we will create that. But we're not going to put any numbers in it. And what those numbers are for is so that should you decide to run a scanner, like a hand scanner, you can actually put SKUs into this box, and then you can create a script that will look for this number in this box, and then it will say, well, that's this product ID number, and it will generate it in your invoice should you want to, or it will generate it wherever you want it to. If you want to add inventory by basically using a hand scanner, that would work. And I do know that hand scanners can work with this system. I have not done that, so I'm not versed on it, but should I choose to do so in the future, I will certainly be putting together some YouTube videos that actually touch base with that. Now, some of the other things that we're going to need very quickly is product name. And I urge you to make sure that you keep all of these the same, that you keep the names the same as I did. Ooh, look at that, I misspelled product name, so let's change it. And the reason why is because as we get farther and farther and farther into this, you're going to realize it's going to become very complicated very quickly. And if your names are different, you're going to have to remember, well, okay, so Tim's product ID is my product number or whatever, So you're going to have to reassociate all that stuff in your mind. So it's so much easier if you just write down exactly, or you do exactly what I'm doing, put that down. When we get to that and I say, okay, we need product name from this table, from the inventory table, you'll be Johnny on the spot. You'll know exactly what we're talking about. Okay, so we're going to need an in stock. Now, in stock that's how many you have in total, and it's typically going to be a number. So we're going to create that. And now we're going to need to break that down, because we don't need to break it down, but let's break it down just in case you have two locations. So in the first location, you can do location 1 stock, and that's a number, so we're just going to press enter. Or you can do location 2 stock, and that's a number. And we're also going to need a category. Now, the reason why we're going to go ahead and do category, and we're going to make that into a text, and I just Control-T'd button. The reason why we want to make that why we want to create a category is simple, so that when we are sorting this data in the future, we can sort it by specific categories. You don't have to put anything in the category, but there it is. You can have a sale price, and that would be a number. You can have a wholesale price if you want to, but I like to just press. I like to have a regular price, sale price, and regular price. And the reason why is because if I want to put something on sale, I can put a number into the sale price unit, and when I'm scripting and I'm writing all my script, I can basically say if the sale price is empty, then perform this script. Or I can say if the sale price is not empty, if this field is not empty, to use this price instead. So It's a very easy scripting that you can do, and it's really cool because you can just go into your back office and you can quick change this if you decide you want to put certain products on sale. And then when the sale is over, you just take the number away. And so that works out really, really, really well. So we now have the total in stock, the in stock at location 1, the in stock at location 2, a category, a sale price, a regular price. I like to have a note field, and that's just in case I wanted to add a note to the if I wanted to write something about a specific product. But like if you wanted to generalize, like say that a product was blue or red or green, or you wanted to further identify or further reduce that, you can add the note field in there. We'll add it in there, although I will probably not use it. Another field that I need very quickly is a minimum field, and that is a number field. And what the number field does, or what this minimum field actually does, is you can set a number in that field so that when you reach that number in your inventory, let's say I have 43 bottles of juice. When I get down to 15 bottles of juice, I want to know that so that I can reorder them. That's what this minimum field does for you. You can put this number, you can put a number in there on any one of your products, which is really, really neat. And it will put it in there individually for individual products. So it doesn't have to cover all of the products, just some of the products. But you put that in there, and whenever it gets to there, it will automatically tell you, or it will automatically send you a note, or whatever you script it to do. But mine just basically says on this page, and that's what I use the note field for, is it will typically tell me, reorder this, reorder this product because it's reached its minimum. So your minimum that you have, if you're going to run 2 different locations, you will need minimum 1 and minimum 2. And you can just, like what I just did here, and just leave the word minimum there and then press the 2 button and then create it. But whatever you do, do not duplicate it. Don't go to minimum, duplicate it, and then change it to minimum 2, because then these 2 fields will be married. These 2 fields will associate with each other continuously. So if you make a change in one of them, it makes the change to both of them. So do not duplicate. I cannot stress that enough. Do not use the duplicate for any reason. And in the note field, you also have, let's say you have a note field too. So because if you're going to have a minimums field and a minimums too, you're probably going to need a note field too as well, so that you can say in this note field, or in note field 1 for location store, your minimum was reached, and so you want the note field to populate with something that says reorder this product. You don't want it to be in both of them, so we're just going to go ahead and segregate those 2 very quickly. Also in your inventory, you will need a, let me see, so let's do, this is going to get very complicated very quickly, but don't worry, just write it down the way that I have it and you will be just fine. So currently we're going to do location 1 change, and that's going to be a number field. And then you're going to have location 2 change, and that's also going to be a number field. The inventory field is going to be pretty big because we're actually going to use this for several different pages, but that's okay because we want all of those pages, or we want those pages that we're actually going to create to be tied together. We want, when one thing changes, we want it to change on both. So and what we're doing is we're just enforcing the ability for you to make those changes when you need them to change. So what we will do is we will add a let's do a regular price change. Or, you know what, let's just do this. Let's do change regular price. That way it's a little easier to understand what we're doing. Okay, so we have the product ID, the product SKU, the product name, the in-stock, we're probably going to need an IDFK so that we can tie these to other ones. But we will add those later. So let's just worry about what we're actually wanting to create on the page first and foremost. So you have the location changes and the regular price change, or the regular price. We're not going to ever change the sale price. That will have to be done by an administrator, or it will have to be done through a different window. If you want to create a change, you can go back, you can go into here, and you can be change sale price. And it's also a number, so it's not going to hurt anything to go ahead and create that number, or that field, so we're just going to go ahead and create it. There it is. And remember, if you've forgotten anything when we're putting this together, if I've forgotten anything, because obviously you're just going to do exactly what I've put onto the page. But if we've forgotten anything, don't worry about it. We can put those in at any time. It's not that big a deal. As long as you're putting them in prior to making any major changes to your system. So we want to put those things in when we're setting the system up, not after the system is up and running. Because making changes to the system after it's up and running can make detrimental changes to your whole system, and you don't want to do that. It can literally erase your inventories. So we'll make sure that this is exactly what we want before we initiate the system and put it up and running. So we have the location 1, we have the sale price, the regular price, 2 note fields, 2 minimums, 2 locations, and 2 whether we change the regular price or the sale price. Now I'm going to assume that your prices are going to be the same at both locations no matter what, and so we will assume that. If they're not, then you need to make those changes, or you need to use the regular price for one store and the sale price for the other store, or the other register. And I think I'm pretty positive that this should be fine. Let's do a menu IDFK, and that will be a number field. We'll just go ahead and put that one in right off the top of our head. And I see that we're running into 30 minutes, so I think we'll go ahead and we'll see what else do we have. We have back office, and then we have the register monitor. So let's go ahead and do the back office now. It's pretty simple. We'll deal with relationships. As you can see here, there's a relationship, but we'll deal with that here in just a little bit. So in the back office, about all that we truly need is an ID or an identify or number, but we're not going to generate any real anything really off of the back office. The back office is simply going to be a page that is filled with buttons that will send us to various places for whatever fields that we're trying to create. So I think just an ID, and actually let's do this. Let's do a security box here, and we're going to make that, I'm not sure if I did this or not on all of them because I've been kind of interrupted a little bit, but security boxes should always be text. And the reason why is because that way you can use numbers and letters should you want to. So let's look. Security box is the text in the menu. Security box is a text in the register. And the register 2, I didn't put a security box. Look at that. So let's put a security box and make that a text. And now we have that on register 2. Now the reason why we're putting the security boxes in, I'm not sure if I had actually said a whole lot about that. And we've skipped the invoices. We'll come back to the invoices. You can put a security box in your inventory. As a matter of fact, I highly suggest you put security boxes pretty much everywhere that you have an opportunity to do so. So the security box in this field is if someone is making a change to the system, and also we're looking at an administrator portal, so we'll just go ahead and create that. Now let's go back to our tables really quick, and because I did forget, the administrator portal. Now let's make this simple. Admin portal. And we're going to create the admin portal, and we're going to double click it, and we're going to very quickly add the ID, and it is a number field, and there it is. Now the admin portal and the back office are going to be very close to each other, but the back office, your back office is for management. So you have a store manager, you want him to have access to this back office. You're a store owner, you are the only one that should have access to the admin portal. What the admin portal does is it gives you complete control of every single thing. You can go anywhere and everywhere in the admin portal. The toughest problem with the admin portal is that is generating the records that you need that are going to be similar to the rest of them. So in our register 1 and in our register 2, we have purposefully left those blank for now. We are going to build. Let's go into these relationships. So here's what we have. These are all of the pages, and you can see here they are pages. They actually look like pages. Is that what I like to do is I like to color them. I'm kind of odd that way, but I certainly do. I love to color mine so that I know what they are. Like this one is a register, so I'm going to make it green. This one is the invoice. I'm going to make it darker green. Maybe that's too dark a green, so there's a darker green. Register 2, I'm going to make it this lighter yellow, and then the invoice 2, I'm going to, and as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm just climbing, so it's a little bit different, but you can see that they're obviously related because their colors are very similar to each other. And the invoice, I like to make my invoice just as bold and different as anything you've seen. The back office, I'm a big back office kind of person. Now here I like to use, for my monitors, I like to use variations of red because these are fields that I like to tell myself, okay, these aren't going to be, no one else is going to have access to them. And then the admin portal should always be your absolute favorite color, no matter what it is. My favorite is blue. But as you can tell, these two colors are too close together. So I'm going to make it, let's make it this color. Maybe too dark. Let's make it this color. It's still, I'm just going to leave it that color and call it good because it kind of looks like it's somewhat related to that field. And notice you can just move these things around wherever the heck you want to. So these two will actually be related to each other, the invoice and and these two will actually be related to each other. Now, if you're OCD anal, you can select these, and all I did was I just left click and just drag down this box, and you can drag as many boxes as you want to, but so I can drag these over here, and then these little things, these little icons down at the bottom, this one will align them, distribute evenly vertically. This one will align them at the top edges. This one will align them on the centers, and now look, they're exactly identical to each other, and you're just going, well, how in the heck can you get those apart? Well, there you go. But if you wanted to really align them well, you can align the edges of them. See, and now they're actually perfectly in line with each other. Right now we're not too worried about it. We're just going to like throw them all over the place until we get ourselves a little better organized as to what we're going to do, and we'll put together some relationships. The back office and the admin portals will be completely segregate of anything else, and the inventory will obviously be related to the menu, but it's only related to the menu in such a sense that you will need to be able to make changes to inventory through the menu. Maybe. I don't know. I still haven't figured out exactly if I want to do that or not, but let's go back to the fields. So currently we have register 1 monitor and register 2 monitor that are left void. Right? Register 1, register 2, and then our 2 invoices are left blank. Like I said, these are math. The 2 invoices are much math, and then the register 1 monitor and the register 2 monitor, what these are is where are we going to put the information? What information do we want to put on there? So we want to monitor the stores, and we can't really put together something until we get the invoices done. And like I said, that's the mathematical equation part of that. So we're just going to go ahead and close out for today. We're going to close out for now, and what we will do is when we pick back up, we'll go ahead and we'll fill in the registers, and we'll fill in the invoices, and we'll get all that stuff done. And then we will come back in a future video very soon. I'm trying to get these done as quickly as I possibly can. We'll go ahead and put all that stuff together, and then we will actually start to create new layouts. We'll create our layouts, and we will organize everything, put it all together, and you can put yours wherever you want to. It doesn't really matter. When we get into that, we're going to make some very creative and very cool layouts. And if you want to put pictures in your layout, that's fine. You can do whatever you want to. In this case, I will show you how to put pictures into buttons and how to put text on and how to put all this stuff together. But I myself will not be using it in this register series because it does take up a large amount of space, and when you're dealing with like little Apple tablets that you're running your system on, you want them to be able to run as fast and as efficiently as possible. So putting pictures in is not necessarily the way that I would go, unless you're putting pictures in specifically to isolate something, and you like this is one gear that looks like this, and this is the other gear, and they're very similar to each other, and so this is a picture of each one of them, so you know which one is the right one to push the button for. In that case, by all means, go ahead and use something like that. I would definitely go towards something like that if you have a lot of products that are very similar to each other and you need to be able to isolate them. Anyway, like I said, this is Tim with Clean Air Vapors, and I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope I've helped you a little bit with this. Just hang on, there is a huge amount more to learn, and I will teach it all to you, or as much of it as I possibly can. There is a lot, and I believe I've released a video already that will show you what the register I'm using looks like, and you can go from there. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.